I'm Edie Lush, and I'm here in the Hub Culture Los Angeles Pavilion at GetGlobal. Really pleased to be joined by Rainbow Yuen. Thanks so much for coming along.
Thank you.
Founder and CEO of Rainbow Bridge. Now, your background is in marketing and advertising, branding. Mm-hmm. You come from, you worked for Nike, is that right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
What did you learn there that you think has been super helpful in terms of helping other companies do their advertising and marketing in China?
I would say it's really important to really know your consumer and what their needs and their wants are. So I think a lot of times you hear a big name brand and you think that it's going to do super well in China, mm-hmm. but if you don't speak to the consumers the way that they need to hear and that they need to be spoken to, then it becomes really, really hard for a brand to be able to resonate with the consumer. I could give you an example of something.
Give me an example of something that hasn't worked.
Hasn't worked. Okay, so I think something that hasn't worked, I mean, there's a lot of examples of companies that have come into the market and hasn't worked because they just simply kind of put their brand in there. Mm-hmm. They did exactly what they did in the country that they're from, mm-hmm. and they didn't really adapt to the China market. China
like eBay.
Yeah, eBay is an example. We talked about Amazon is mm-hmm. another example, and there are other players in China that have taken that model, but they've localized it. Mm-hmm. You know, so something like a Taobao, where mm-hmm. and something like even WeChat as a platform. Mm-hmm. You know, consumers really want to be able to communicate with a brand and engage with a brand, and you know, getting feedback from consumers when a brand launches is so important.
So, who have you worked with that has been sort of surprising in terms of how they've gotten this idea of localizing, and what's been interesting that you've tried that's worked?
Surprised brands, you mean, like that have worked?
Yeah.
I would say that I can't say that it was super surprised, mm-hmm. but when Lululemon came into the China market, mm-hmm. I remember I was working on Nike at the time, and I was thinking to myself, like, okay, how is this going to affect us, mm-hmm. right? Because it was very niche, and you know, Nike's a lot more broad mm-hmm. in terms of you know, people coming to do sports and stuff, and different kinds of sports, but it became very, very niche, and I actually felt like they really did work on capitalizing on that market mm-hmm. of people who are yoga lovers, mm-hmm. and they did take their concept from the US mm-hmm. and really brought it to China, but were able to build that community. So if you can get a following, you mm-hmm. can get a community around rallying behind mm-hmm. your product, that's when you've actually succeeded. And so I wouldn't say I was really surprised, but mm-hmm. I actually felt that they did a pretty good job.
So if you're looking to expand or to build your brand in China, what are the things that you say besides you know your customer, do some research, and then what? How do you use mobile?
How do you use mobile?
Yeah.
Well, we know that everybody mostly interacts is on mobile. Mm-hmm. I would say that you got to be on like a platform that most people are on. Mm-hmm. One of the things that I'd worked on before was actually WeChat is mm-hmm. everybody has heard of it, mm-hmm. but how do you use it, right? Yeah. Especially like a lot of advertisers are looking at it and thinking like, wow, it's more of a close, mm-hmm. you know, community. So for instance, we started doing official accounts, and those official accounts really were circling around a specific fitness. Mm-hmm. So whether it's going to be running, whether it's going to be training, mm-hmm. you know, whether it's going to be about basketball. Mm-hmm. But when I worked on it, I know that like running was a huge thing, and so there's a huge like following of people mm-hmm. who've actually come into that place. And then in any place that you live in you know, China's huge, mm-hmm. right? But you could be in Beijing and you can actually find like a class that you can go to, or you can find a running group that you can mm-hmm. go run. You can have access to all of the different products that are going to be out, and you can actually one click away mm-hmm. from just purchasing it. You know, so there's so many ways to engage them once you get them into your community. So I think that that's one way to like really bring in how do you use mobile. Mm-hmm. It's not about like a ton of people coming on, it's about the right people coming into that right platform that you want them to, and then being able to create that community and bring them into that place.
Rainbow, thank you so much for stopping by the Hub Culture stand here at GetGlobal, our LA Pavilion, and I'm Edie Lush.